pivot table and pivot chart in Excel.
Data analysis in Excel, section 4. Today we're going to be looking at what we call the pivot table in Excel. Remember, in our last lesson that I held last week, we looked at how to scrape data from the cloud, from Wikipedia. We scraped data, that was the 2020 Olympic medal table. We scraped the 2020 Olympic medal table. And I believe we might use it to run a simple analysis today. And we try to clean the data and transform it a little bit. We're going to be doing more of that later. But today we want to introduce a very powerful tool in Microsoft Excel. A very powerful tool in Microsoft Excel. So we are looking at a powerful engine in Microsoft Excel called Excel Pivot Table. This Excel Pivot Table is a powerful tool that allows you to summarize, analyze, and explore large sets of data quickly. Now remember that we are dealing with a situation where you might have large set of data. You are given a very large set of data to deal with. Data that ranges from 500, 1,000, 10,000, hundreds of thousands, and it can be a company sales over a period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or more. It can be students' record over a period of years. It can be a church record, possibly church attendance or finances. It can be a company data set. And you are expected to, first of all, summarize the data or analyze it and possibly explore it to get insight from it quickly. Pivot table is one major tool that is outstanding in Microsoft Excel that will help you do that. Now, it also enables you to recognize and group data. It helps you to generate reports also, and it helps you to extract meaningful insights by pivoting the rows and the columns of the data. Now, when we want to deal with pivot table, I think what we're going to look at now is, okay, let's try to open a data set and we'll look at it. Remember, we are trying to be as practical as possible. I know we have so many of us that have different levels of knowledge in Excel. That is the reason why I want to always come down to earth and pick us up so we can follow. At any point to not follow you, please try to let me know. Now, let's try to open an Excel data set. This is a data set. This is a data set. Now, looking at this data set, whenever you are given a set of data to work with, the first thing you are expected to do is to look at the data closely. Do a visual inspection on the data. Understand the data first. What is the data talking about? Because the major essence of any data set given to you is for you to draw insight from it. So you first of all look at the data and understand what the data is talking about. For instance, now, looking at the data set we have before us now, this is sales for the past 3 years. Now, I'm going to do some things on this data. Please listen before we begin to pivot. But you must listen very well because our lesson is not going to be too long this night. But please follow this. If after this lesson you didn't understand it well, just wait for tomorrow. I will post this lecture on YouTube and send the link. Try to replay it again and do that as quick as possible because by Monday, Tuesday, I will send another lecture and I'll keep on sending lectures of 30 minutes before Saturday. So on Saturday, we'll meet again to now look at more things. So if you look at this data now, there are few things I want to show you in this data set. This data set, we refer to it as a list. In Excel, when you are given a simple data set like this, we call it a list. And looking at this data set, we have the year, we have the months, we have type, salesperson, region, sales, that is the amount realized from each transaction, number of units sold, and then the order number. Now, if I look at this data, the first thing I would like to know is how many transactions was recorded here. Each row represents a transaction. The first transaction here held in 2013, January. It was ice cream. It was sold by Bishop. And Bishop is in the region, in the West region. And the amount is $2,395 point something dollars. And the number of units is 1,597. And the order number is 001. So that summarizes the data. It can continue. Now, if I want to know how many years were captured here, or how many months was captured here, or how many types, this type represents items, or you can say products. How many products or how many types were captured here? How many salespersons do we have? How many regions? These are things you should be able to find out before you delve into the data proper. There are simple Excel techniques that you can use to discover that. I believe we've dealt with that before now. And I think we might need to deal with it again so that you can understand well. Now, let's look at this. If I want to know how many years that was captured in this now, what I will simply do is I will highlight the whole of this row, where we have the header. Remember, this is the header. This is called a field. This is a field. It's a field. So, or you can call it a header. These are headers. They are called headers, or you can call them field. So they show us what should be recorded under. So if I highlight the whole of these headers, I will simply look for the filter, go to data and go to filter. What am I trying to do? I want to apply a filter to the header. And as soon as I apply a header to a filter, you will notice that some arrows appears beside each of the headers. Arrows appears beside each of the headers. And when I click on any of the arrows, it will simply show me the number of distinct items I have on that particular column. Let me repeat this again. Look at here. I don't know how many years that are here, but I'm seeing 2013 only. If I choose to start to scroll down, I can keep scrolling down, possibly to keep moving. Now, this might take me a lot of time to go through the whole data and verify what I want to verify. And what if this data is too large, close to 1 million? Is that what I'm going to do? No, what I will simply do to know the distinct years captured here is to highlight the header, go to data, click on filter, or I can use the shortcut Control plus Shift plus L. Control plus Shift plus L. That will automatically insert a filter arrow on each of the headers. Now, if I click on that arrow, I can easily do a number of things. One, I can automatically see the number of distinct years. So from here, you can see that 2013 was captured, 2014 was captured, 2015 was captured, confirming what we have at the heading, that this data covers 2013 and 2015. And if you go to month and click on the arrow, you will see that we cover the month of April, December, February, January, March, May, November, though not arranged in alphabetical order. If you go to type, you will notice that we have four items: frozen yogurt, ice cream, popsicles, and tasty treats. If you go to salesperson, you will notice that we have 5 salespersons: Bishop, Lee, Parker, Pulling, and Watson. If you go to regions, you will notice that we have 4 regions: Central, North, South, and West. These are categorical data. They are all categorical data. Who is following me? If you're following what I'm saying, if you're following me tonight, can you type on the chat box? I'm following you. Let me be sure somebody is following me. I hope I'm not being too fast. Can I have 1 or 2 persons tell me I'm following? Yeah, okay. Okay, you're following. Beautiful. Beautiful. So let's move on. Now, this practice, I've just done this because I want to know some of this. Now, what if I want to filter out only the transactions that happened in 2013? How can I do that? I simply click on this arrow and come to select all, uncheck it, and I will check only 2013 and click OK. I've ended up filtering only the 2013. And if I click on the first one, hold down my Shift and my Control key and hit the down arrow key, I will see the last of 2013. And that is all that has been filtered. 2013 filtered. You will notice that the 2013 transaction stopped here. And at the top of your header, you will see that your header has changed. You will see something like a funnel shape showing here. A funnel shape showing here. You can see the funnel shape showing that a filter has been carried out. And if I want to remove the filter, I click on the filter again, and I on filter 2013 and I filter 2014. Click OK. It gives me 2014 now, and you can see 2014 only. And if I want to filter out 2015 only, I uncheck 2014 and click 2015 and click on it. So I can decide. So in the office, maybe the interest might be for you to filter out a particular sort of data and print it out. You can use this method to do that. If I want to remove the filter, I click on this and click on select all, and I will bring out all of them again. What if I want to see all the transactions that took place under ice cream? I'll click on this arrow still, and I go to uncheck all and I select ice cream, I click OK, I can now see only all the ice cream transactions. If I click on this first one, hold on my shift and my control key and tap the down arrow key also, it takes me to the last one and you can see that's ice cream. And if I want to unfilter it in the same way, I can click on select all and click OK. The same way with region, the same way with salesperson, so you can be able to filter out anything that you want. That's one major activity that you must know how to carry out. Any question on that before I move to the next? Remember, before I get to pivot table, there are some of its relatives I need to explain, because without explaining them, if you jump into pivot table, you might not appreciate what is involved there. Okay, let's go ahead. Now we've looked at the filter. Don't forget, click on data and you go to filter and you can put the filter. Now, apart from that, you may, before you start any analysis, before you start using the pivot table to draw any analysis, to summarize the data, to analyze it and explore it, please always try to check if you have duplicate values. Now, oftentimes you hear them say that they are trying to clean up the voters register. This is very important. Remember that while voters registration is going on in Lagos, it's going on also in Oka, going on in Aba, and every ward in Nigeria. After it happens, I would show you how this data is meshed together. Now, it's possible somebody might have registered in Lagos and comes to Oka to register again. That will form multiple registration, and that will bring biasness to the data. So the first thing you do to any data set before you start carrying out any analysis, the first cleaning process is to remove duplicate values. Duplicate values will make the analysis biased. For instance, now, given this data now, the first thing I will do before I go into pivot table is to remove duplicate values. How do I do that? Very important. Very important. What you do is click into any of the cells. Look at the table here now. The table, the whole of what you can see is the data sets. It's not a table, but it's called a list for now. Now, if I click into any of the cells, you can see. Then the next will be, I go to data. From the data tab, I will have an option on the data tool. You will see an option under that tool called remove duplicates. Remove duplicates. This remove duplicates, once you click on it, you will notice that a dialog box will appear. Take note of this. This is remove duplicate dialog box. It will appear. And when it appears, one thing is this. You will notice select all. It will select the whole of the columns you have. You have the year, month, it will select the whole columns, and then it will ask you one question. Look at the question it's asking you. My data has headers. My data has headers. I want to explain something here now. Now, in Excel, by default, Excel assumes that your data sets, that the first row of it is always the header. Let me explain this. Let me close this first. I want to close it. Now, look at one thing now. Did you notice that when you have the first row here, sales past 3 years, you have the second one, 2023 to 2015. There's an empty row here. Yeah. What this empty row does. So I hope you can still hear me. The network was bad a little bit, but it's back. It's back. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes. Can you hear me? Please confirm. Okay. Just a slight shaking in the network, but let's go ahead. So, okay. So let's move on. Okay, thank you, sir. Let's move on. Now, if you look at this data, if you notice the first row, notice second row. Now, I gave a gap between the second row and the main data set. This simply means that when I click into any of these cells, if I want to perform a major function, Excel recognizes from here down to this point. It doesn't see this as part of this table. Why? Because I get gap here. The same thing is applicable also if I have entries here. Excel does not recognize these entries here as part of this table because I've given a column gap here. But if I didn't give a column gap here, Excel will be seeing this as part of the table. Did you get that? If you got that, please can you respond? Tell me you got it. If you didn't get it, ask your question. I will explain. Did you understand that? That's the major thing you need to get. Okay. All right, you got that. Beautiful. Now, good. So let's go ahead. I believe all of us will get that. It's a simple thing. So now, having understood that, I would like you to now notice this now. I click on any of the cells. If I click on any of the cells within this table, Excel will know that my action will only affect the table and does not affect anyone that is up or beside a gapped row or column. So if I now go ahead to click on remove duplicate, the remove duplicate dialog box will appear. And I told you to take note of this. You will see it many places. Excel will say my data has header. You can check or uncheck it. If I uncheck it, I am simply telling Excel that my data has no header. But on the real sense of it, my data has header, and the header is year, month, type, and the rest of them. So because of it now, I will have to check this. So in any action Excel is carrying out, it must recognize the fact that this data set has header, and it will automatically take the first row as the header. So if that is the case now, we will go ahead, and because we want to remove the duplicate values now, I will click OK. And if there are duplicate values, Excel will remove it for me. And from here now, you can see no duplicate values found. Okay, let me add a duplicate value now. Let me create a duplicate value. Now watch the process. Okay, somebody is asking, why is row 1 not recognized? Beautiful. Now I've explained that. The reason why row 1 is not recognized is that I created a gap. This is the gap. And if this gap is removed, if I right click and delete this gap now, then what will happen now? I've closed this gap. Now, if I go back to remove duplicate, you will notice that it will, whatever action I carry out, it will recognize this first one. But because I don't want you to recognize the first one, I will create a row as a gap between row 1 and row 2. And doing that, I might need to right click on row 2 and add insert. Of course, that will put it up. So if I want it up, I'll delete this. If I want the row up, then I will have to right click on row 3 and insert. So it will insert a row for me up here. And that row forms a gap between these two rows and the main table. So whenever I click on any cell now, Excel only recognizes this from here as the table, as the row, as the list anyway. So that's exactly it. I believe that question has been answered now. Okay, now look at what I want to do now. I want to add 3 duplicate values. Now look at the way I'm going to add it now. I want to highlight row 7, row 8, and row 9. I highlighted 3 rows. The reason is because I want to insert 3 rows within this space. If I right click any of the 3 rows I highlighted and chose insert, you will notice it inserted 3 empty rows for me. Did you see that? Do I repeat the process? Can I have your response if you followed me? I want this to be as simple as possible so that even if you're beginning with us today, you will not. After this lecture, I will upload this data set and I'll give you an example. Okay? Yes? Okay. 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 Now, assuming I want to remove these 3 rows also, I can highlight these 3 rows and right click on any of them and delete. The 3 rows go. But let me add 3 rows again. I added 3 rows. Insert. Now, look at what I want to do is to create duplicate values. Now, if I want to create duplicate values, I can highlight three of this. I highlighted the 3, right-clicked on it, and copied it. And to show it has been copied, you will see what we'll call a matching ant. We'll call it a matching ant highlight. They're moving like a matching ant, showing that 3 rows has been copied. And I want to paste them within these 3 rows also. So I'll come to the first one and right click on it and I choose paste. And once I click on paste, you will notice that it has pasted that 3 rows there. And that is very simple. So that pasting there now, created duplicate values. Is that very clear? Is that clear? That pasting it there created duplicate values. So because it has created duplicate values now, if I now click any cell and go to remove duplicate and eventually click on OK, you will notice that 3 duplicate values will be found and removed. And you now have 44 unique values remaining. Did you understand that now? Who understood that? Can I have you respond? I artificially created duplicate value to show you how this can happen. Okay, I want your response. Oh, somebody didn't understand. All right, let me repeat this process again. Listen very well again. Listen. I'm assuming that in this data now has no duplicate values. So let me create a duplicate value on it. I will simply highlight 3 columns or more. This time, let me highlight 4 columns. 4 columns, right click and insert. So I've inserted 4 empty columns. Then let me copy this 4 now. You know that this 4 is already here. My copying it and pasting it here now will mean it's duplicated. So I pasted it here now, and it means that we have it duplicated now. And because it is duplicated, there's a problem. It is not good to go ahead analyzing a data set that has duplicate values. So the very first thing you will do to a data set is to check if it has duplicate values, and to go ahead and check that. There are two ways of doing it. You may want to check if it has duplicate values, or you may have to go ahead and remove duplicate values. The one I'm teaching you now is the one that will help you to go ahead and remove the duplicate values. And to do that, I will go to Data tab. And then from the Data Tools, you will see the Remove Duplicate option. Click on it. And remember, the Remove Duplicate dialog box will appear. And it will check. You will notice that all the columns are checked. That's in order. Then you will have to confirm that my data has header is also checked, because truly our data has header. Then once you click OK, you will notice that Excel will dictate the duplicate values and remove the duplicates. That is, if a particular row occurred 2 times, it will remove 1 and leave 1 for you. So that is why you can see 4 duplicate values found, removed. And it will tell you how many unique values remaining. And you click OK, and the whole thing will happen. So did you follow now? Can I hear your response before I continue? Any question? Any question? Yes or no? Let's proceed. Okay. All right. So you're following now. So okay. So let's go ahead now. Having handled this data of duplicate values, now what is the next thing we can do? Now, another thing you may choose to do is you may choose to sort this data. Sorting enables you to be able to search for a particular thing. Look at this now. I want to sort this data based on the salesperson's name. There are many ways to do that. One of the ways you can sort is, since this data has filter, click on the filter for the row you want to sort. And then you will see sort A to Z, sort Z to A, sort by color. If I sort A to Z now, automatically you will notice that this data has been rearranged, sorted A to Z. So you can see B's started it, and if you move on, you see L and P. So it's been sorted in alphabetical order. I can remove the sort by clicking on the arrow again, and I'll go ahead and remove the sort, or okay, there's no option for clearing the sort here. Okay, you can, there's no option for that here, but then it has been sorted. You can decide to sort by product. You click here, and you also decide to sort by product. So it will resort again. I can decide to sort by month or by year. If I want to sort by year, I can sort from small to largest, or I can sort from largest to small. If I sort from large to small, you see 2015 will begin it. If I sort from small to large, 2013 will begin. And that's just how to sort. Is that very clear? Okay. Who is not following? Okay, any question? Any question before I go ahead? Obi, any question? Somebody is saying no. What are you saying no to? Is there any confusion before we go ahead? Can I have your response before I move on? I want to move into the pivot engine now. I'm ready to move into the pivot engine now. So any question? Nobody responding? I want to have 3 responses. Okay, somebody said after sorting. Okay. Somebody said after sorting, since no option, how do we go back? I will explain that for you. I will explain that. I will explain that. No question. That's just a mini way of sorting. I'm going to show you the main way to sort if you really want to sort. Yes. Many ways you can sort. If you want to sort, I will explain that as we move on. I will explain that as we move on. Okay. So let's go ahead for now. Let's go ahead for now. Now, let's go into the pivot engine. Now, if you look at this data set now, please listen very well. If you look at this data set now, so many insights can come out of this data set. Number one, the company might want to know the total amount of money realized in each of the years. That's one. If you have a pen beside you, you can write it down. One major insight, let me give you about 5 or 6 different insights that might be required from this data. Number one is the company might want to know what is the total revenue per year. Since we have 3 years, 2013, 2014, 2015, what is the total revenue for 2013? What is the total revenue for 2014? And what is the total revenue for 2015? This is number one. Number two, the company may want to know, since we have 4 products, remember, the essence of knowing how much was realized in 2013, 2014, 2015 is so that you'll be able to know the performance of the company. Is the company improving or are we going down? So from there, you'll be able to advise the company. Now, apart from that, the company has 4 products. The company might want to know what is the total revenue from each of the products. What is the total revenue from each of the products over the whole 3 years, or over a period of 1 year or 2, or over the period of 2013, 2014, and 2015. That will help the company to know which of our products is selling more. And when you know which of the products is selling more, you'll be able to advise the company as a data analyst that your ice cream is selling more. So why not invest more money on it since it is on high demand? You can now see how data has helped you to know which product to invest on more. Now, in developed countries, in good businesses, you don't just come to make decisions. If your decision must be made, it must be data-driven. That is why in Nigeria here, we don't value data. And most companies that have leveraged on data analysis or data management are scaling through. This is because if you have a good data put together and analyzed, well summarized, and heavily explored, you will realize that you will be able to make good data-driven decisions. You can't just come up to begin to invest on a particular product when you are not even sure how that product is selling. So the company might want to know which product sells highest. Apart from that, the company might want to know the performances of their different salespersons. Maybe they might want to reward the best person, to encourage the person to do more. And you are expected to, from a pool of data, find out which salesperson made the highest revenue over the period of that 3 years in question. Which salesperson made the best sales or the highest revenue over the period of 2013, 2014, or 2015. This is very important there. The fourth one is look at region. This company has 4 regions: Central, North, South, and West. This company at the end of the year need to know from which region did we make the highest revenue. This is because it will help them to know which regions to give attention to. Now, if they realize that they made better sales in the West and the low sales in the North, now, those places they made lower sales, they will go to that place to find out what really happened. Why are we making lower sales? Now, that's the work of the business analyst. The business analyst will take the analysis that has been done by the data analyst. It dives it into critical analysis of all the processes that takes place. And possibly, he will realize that the Northerners do not patronize this product because of a particular thing or the other. Then he moves into finding out what do we do to make sure that they begin to patronize it. And as a data analyst, you will explore and can come up with some decisions and tell them, if you lower the price of this, they might. That's the reason why. That's why you have catchment area, some of these stuffs that they do. If you lower the price in the North will dive into it more. Or you may say, if you bring an incentive, assuming it is Coca-Cola, and then you realize that Coca-Cola is not making much revenue in the North, or a particular period of the year. This can also happen if you notice that the revenue in the month of January is too low. The revenue in the month of December is too high. And they find out, and they try to find out why. And what they are finding could be that during the December time, we have a lot of people doing weddings, doing burials, so they demand for our goods, maybe it's drinks and the rest of them. And then during February, March, April, during the June, July, so much rainy season, people don't drink so much. Then the company might say, okay, what do we do to improve our revenue? That's what the company wants. And as a business analyst, you tell them, okay, what about if we bring in drink and win? And people will be so eager to drink. So during those moments you have low sales, you can bring in some incentives, drink and win. Buy one, buy 10, get one free. That can motivate people. That's the reason why you see large companies bring in some of these incentives. Now, at times they will increase their advert. You see MTN trying to begin to dash people data, or try to, if you load, they'll bring one particular platform, star 888. If you dial that and load your airtime, you get more airtime. And you see people that don't even want to buy airtime begin to buy the airtime seriously. That's exactly what happens. So they bring you one incentive. You know that at times some companies will bring an incentive even when you don't need that thing, because that incentive is there. You are forced into going to buy it. That's exactly what plays out. So this is exactly the power of analysis, and that is why data analysts are the most sorted for anywhere in the world now. Data analysts are the most sorted for anywhere in the world. At the course of our studies, one of the analysis we're going to do, we're going to analyze the Nigerian elections from 7 years back now, and we're going to look at voter apathy and so many things, and we'll draw some inference. Now I'm going to give some of us assignment to analyze your church revenue, your church attendance, and the rest of them, and make some comparisons and find out whether you are improving on it. So you can be able to make some data-driven decisions. That's very important. Who is following? Can I have before I now perform a pivot table to summarize these things now? Let me know who followed these illustrations I gave. I think I stated about 5 insights that should be needed in this. Can somebody repeat the insights? Type the insights. What's the first insight? Or type anyone you can remember. Even the ones I didn't mention. Can you type any insight you feel that can come up from this data set? from what I've explained now? What are the insights? Okay, somebody said you missed one insight, but then even if you miss one insight, from this data set, I can produce 1,001 insights. It depends on what does the company want. You see, okay, the best product, beautiful. Number one, the best product, that is in terms of revenue. You can get the best product that has the highest revenue. Yes, Jasper, thank you. Let me have us respond. The year more sales was very fine, beautiful. Dixon, the year that has the highest amount of the money revenue. Yes, can I have another one before we go into it? Remember, we're already summarizing. I want to make this lecture short so that we can go prepare for church. Yes, the best salesperson, beautiful. The best. You're going to see how these answers are going to jump out within the space of a few seconds. The private year, the best performing month, beautiful. The best month. And if you know the best performing month, you will know those months that are dull. You find out why are they dull. You know the total revenue for all the 3 years. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, the region with the highest revenue, powerful, powerful. Now, what again? What again? One more before we move on. One more before we move on. The pivot engine is the strongest engine in Excel. One of the strongest engines in Excel. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So watch now. What's the first one we're going to look at now? Now, looking at this data set now, let's move on. Please don't miss this section. Look very well, because I just drop this now and I will send this data set and another one again to the platform. So you do your own, and I will teach you how to screenshot it and send to me so that I can look at it. So let's look at it now. First of all, pivot table is very simple. Knowing what to pivot is actually harder than the pivot itself. Now, if I want to perform a pivot on this table now, the first one I want to answer is, let us find out the total amount of money realized in 2013, 2014, and 2015. The total amount of money realized in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Are we set? Okay. If we are set now, let us go. Now, looking at this now, if I want to pivot now, what I will simply do is, first of all, remember I've explained this before now, and I'd like you to get that. If I want to create a pivot table, the first thing you do for best practices, if you want to perform a pivot table, the first thing you do is to convert this list. This is called a list. It's called a list. Convert the list to a table. 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 How do you convert the list to a table? Click on this, on any of the cells, go to the Home tab. Go to the Home tab. From the styles group, you will see Format as Table. You will see Format as Table. Once you click on the arrow, choose any of these options. All these are styles. Choose any style of your choice. Once you choose any style of your choice, you will notice that the entire list will be highlighted with a matching ant. Remember what I told you, that this column separates this from here. So the entire column will be highlighted with a matching ant, showing the table you want to cover. And right here, Excel will give you a dialog box, create table dialog box, and it will highlight the entire table. It will also tell you that my table has header. Yes, make sure you check it so that you can recognize this first row as the header. Once you click OK, automatically this table, this list becomes converted to a table. It's not a table. Why are we converting it to a table first? Does it mean without converting it to a table that we cannot pivot? Does it mean so? That somebody said it's lost. Okay, let me repeat this again. Let me undo this. I'll do Ctrl Z. Let me do Ctrl Z to undo this. I have simply, I return back to normal. Now listen again. Listen again, you'll get it down. This is our list. Before performing pivot table, before pivoting, the first thing you do is just more or less like for best practice. It doesn't mean that you cannot pivot without converting a list to a table. You can pivot without converting a list to a table, but there are certain situations that there are certain problems you're going to meet along the line. You may have a need to do something further, and you won't be able to do it. So the best thing is convert your list to a table. Convert your data set to a table. What we call a table. Now, look at this now. If you look at this data set now, you will notice we have file, home, insert, page layout, formula, data, and down to pivot, power pivot. And then you have tell me what you want to do. Now, watch now. By the time we convert this to a table, a contextual tab will appear here to show that this data set has been converted to table. So watch now. To convert the table, click any of the cells in the data set. Now, go to the home tab. From the style group, look at the style group here. From the style group, you will see an option, format as table. Click on the arrow, you will see an arrow. Whenever you see an arrow like that, it means a drop down will appear. That drop down will show me different styles. Any style you choose is okay. Different styles. Assuming I choose this one, once I choose it, you will notice this dialog box will appear. One thing. Number two, you notice the matching ant will highlight the table. Remember, I'll give you reasons why these two are not part of the table. Now, and you can see the part of the table only. It will highlight part of the table by showing you a sign. And that sign is this matching ant that you can see. Now, because you want to proceed, you will check your dialog box. The dialog box here is showing me that, telling me that my table has header. If that is correct, which you know our table has header, and I've explained that before, you click on OK. Once you click OK, the nature of the table will change to show that the table has now been converted to show that it has been converted to table now. So you can see the table changing. Apart from that, look up here. You will see a contextual tab here, table design. It wasn't there before. That table design appeared because we converted this list to a table. And when you click on that table design, you will notice some table options. We are going to deal with this later, but notice some table options. The first table option you will notice is the table name. And the table name is table 2. If I want to rename the table 2, I will click into it and delete the table 2 and call it cells. Cells. Let me call it cells. That's the name I want it to bear, and I will hit enter. Now, also from this table dialog box, you can still see an option, remove duplicate. Now, you can see other options also. Filter button. You can uncheck the filter button to remove the filter button. Click on it again. Look at the filter button here. I can uncheck it from here. These are features that came with the table 2. Let's not go so deep into it. Let's just move ahead to pivot first. Now, having understood what we said, let me show you another method of converting to table. Also, I want to undo. I'll press Ctrl Z to undo. I want to undo. I have undone everything using the Control Z. And now I've undone them. You can see that that particular contextual tab, table design, is no longer here again. Now, alternatively, if I want to convert my list to table, once I click on any of these cells, I can press Control T, Control T, Control plus T on my keyboard. That's Control T. I just press Control T. Who understood what I just did now? Let me repeat again. I cancel. I click on any of the cells. I go to my keyboard, Control T. I hold on the Control key and I tap the T key. It brings me back to that same table dialog box. It brings me back to that same table dialog box where I can now click OK, and I have my table here. And back again is the table design. Please, if this is amazing, comment. If you didn't follow, say, I am not following. If you are following, say, it's amazing. Then I will continue. Okay? Okay? Beautiful. It's amazing. Okay, I hope nobody is lost. Can I have us respond? Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Replaying this will help you. Please always try to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that other of my courses in, I have some courses in cloud computing with AWS. I have some courses in DevOps. I have some courses in areas like Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes, Docker, infrastructure, architecture, and the rest of them. And then on graphics and on other PowerPoint, other Office applications, and the rest of them. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then each time I upload any of those videos, you will get them. I am leaving the YouTube channel open for now. Any time from now, it will be restricted because they are all full courses. Those courses are meant to be sold, but I'm leaving them open for your sake. So take advantage of this season and get these things. Okay, so let's go ahead. Since it's amazing and nobody is lost, let's move on. Having converted our list to table, somebody might ask me, what if I want to reverse it? It's very simple. I want to reverse it, click on any cell also, go to table design and select convert to range. And select convert to range. That will reverse it back to a list. But we're going to come to that. So let's pivot now. Let's pivot now. Having done this now, we formatted our list as table. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead, click into this, then go to insert. Go to insert. When you click on the insert, look carefully for pivot table. From the tables group, you will see pivot table. Look at pivot table command. And if I click on the arrow below the pivot table, I may choose to select from table range or from external data. If I go ahead and click on it direct on the body without clicking on the arrow, it will execute this first one. So you can click on the arrow and select from table range. From table range means from this table that you've selected now. So I click on pivot table, I click on from table range. It will go ahead again and select the entire table it wants to pivot now. Then remember, this is the pivot table dialog box showing, and it's asking us which table we want to pivot, and it's asking us whether it is table 3. Yes, it's table 3. If I cancel this now, you click on this and go to table design. You see the name of the table, table 3. Okay, let me rename it to as cells. Let me rename it as cells. cells. Then, if that's the case now, I click on any cell, go to insert, then go to pivot table, select this. You will now notice that it is cells now. So it depends on what you named the table. Now, the next thing is asking you to choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. You have an option to place the pivot table on a new sheet or on the existing worksheet. If you tell it to place it on existing worksheet, it will place it beside this worksheet, which is not usually encouraging, which is not that best practice. You choose new worksheet. And when you select the new worksheet, simply click OK. Don't leave every other thing, will come to it. Simply click OK. And once you click OK, as a matter of fact, the pivot page will appear. Now, mind you, below, look at the tab, look at our original data set. A new sheet has opened because we instructed it to add it in a new sheet. So a new sheet has been added now for us. So, and that sheet is called the pivot sheet. So it depends on what I want to do now. All I want to pivot is I want to know how much revenue came in each of the years. Look, if I click into the cell here, this field disappears. If I click on the pivot table, it appears. Look at these pivot table fields. If I click on any of the cells, it disappears. If I click on the pivot table, it appears. Now, this is the pivot engine here now. So let's go ahead and pivot quickly. Now, I want to know how much revenue that was realized each year. What I simply do is this. Look at the pivot table field. You will see all the fields you have in your table, year, month, normal. Now, below here, you will notice 4 boxes. One is filter, column, row, values. What makes for pivoting is knowing what to drag into where to drag it. What are we dragging? We are looking for year, right? Well, we want to know the revenue over years. So we'll come to year, drag the year, and drag it into row. If I drag it into row, you will notice one thing now, that the pivot engine will go into all the year row and select distinct years. If you have 2013 appearing 100 times, it will take 1. If you have 2014 appearing 50 times, it will take 1. If you have 2015 appearing 80 times, it will take 1. That's what we call distinct rows. Distinct rows. And I dragged it into row. You can see now, row 1, row 4, row 5, row 6. If I have dragged it into column, it will line up on the column. So it is you that know how you want to line it up. If you drop it on column, it will column A, column B, column C. Did you get that now? But I always like using the row. So I put it in row. Now, what is the next thing now? Now, if you look at these values and you will see summation, whenever you see values and you see summation, it means that whatever thing that can be dragged into this place must be a number or a value that can be used for calculation, that can be aggregated. To be aggregated means that can be summed or divided or multiplied. And we're looking for the total amount of money. So we go to sales. Remember that sales is the amount. I drag amount and drop it in value. And automatically, you will notice that it will give us the sum of sales. And from the pivot table, you can now see that now we have all the data that was sold for 2013. You can see the summary of the data now. So who is following me? In 2013, the company made this amount of money. In 2014, the company made this. and in 2015, the company made this. That's amazing. Are we following? Can I have you respond? Coming to the end of the class, but please get this. Is that clear? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. 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 Following? Yes. The following, okay. Oh, beautiful. It's amazing. I mean, that's the power of the pivot engine. Now, this is just for 2013, 20. So let's go ahead. I'll go to the data set again. Assuming I'm done with this, I'll go to the data set again. Let's go to the data set again. Now, I want to check the total amount of money realized from each type of item. I'll click on the cell again, go to insert, go to pivot table, select from table range, and click. I want you to put it in another new data, a new one. But what I could have done is to name the sheet, the first sheet, as pivot. Okay, let me cancel first. So this is revenue per year. So let me right click and choose name, and I'll call it revenue per year, so that it can be labeled. Hit enter. So that's revenue per year. So let's go to this now. So let's get revenue per item, per type. Click here, go to pivot table, select range, and then new sheet also, and click OK. Then what do I do now? I simply go to type, drag it to row, simply go to sales, drag it to value, and I just got revenue per item. That's very simple. So I can go ahead and rename it now. Rename, I can now call it revenue per item. This might not be the best practice, but I want you to understand how the pivot engine works first. Then let's go ahead to data again. Click on this cell again. I want to repeat it severally so you can get it. So I want to answer some of those questions. Click on it again. Then I go to pivot engine again. And this time around now, revenue per salesperson. Per salesperson. So I click OK. And I now come for salesperson on row. It gives me the distinct salespersons. And then I now go on sales. And I get this now. So from here now, you can get who is the highest among them and who has performed better. That's it. So I can now rename this also as revenue per salesperson, revenue per salesperson, and I click enter, and I go ahead again, come to my data set again, click again, and I want to go to insert again, then come to that pivot table again, choose new sheet, new worksheet again, and I come again here. I want to get revenue per region. Let's know the best performing region across the 3 years together. I drag this now, and I go to sales and drag this now. Now, look at this now. This gives me revenue per salesperson. But take note that what you can see here now is revenue per region over the 3 years. Over the 3 years. Take note, over the 3 years. Revenue per salesperson over the 3 years. Now, at this point now, what if I want to know revenue per region in 2013, 2014, 2015 separately? Then I will employ the services of this filter. Because I want to filter it by year, I will come to year now, drag year into filter. And once I do that, you will see year on top here, you see all. I can now filter 2013 and click OK. This is the value for 2013. I can filter 2014, click OK. This is value for 2014. I can click filter 2015, click OK. That's amazing. Can somebody respond briefly? What can you see? Any question? Are you following? Do you see how powerful the Excel engine is within a space of seconds? Yes, I want you to respond. How do you feel about that? It's interesting. Come on, listen. You haven't seen anything yet. You are going to see amazing things. Excel is so powerful. Excel is too powerful. It's just that we don't know it. It's too powerful. Yes, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's amazing. It's simple. Now, this knowledge now, we will soon organize it. And when we organize it now, we will use it to solve a problem. We will organize it very soon and use it to solve some problem. Yes, it's amazing. So looking at that now, you can easily know from here now. You can easily know from here that which uh, uh, which region performed the best in 2015 and the rest of them. And you can decide to also go ahead and and do some sorting. You can show some other things also, which we're going to come to later. We will, if you look at this, we can do some sorting. We're going to come to that, but let's just get it clear and very well. Okay, if I can decide to sort, I can start to sort these values now. If I right click on any of these values and I come to sort, I can decide to sort them the way I want, but we will come to sorting them and we'll see how to work with them. So that's it now. Now, looking at this now, I created this pivot, this pivot, this pivot, and this. That can be very tedious while working. Can we put the whole of this pivot in one sheet and make it organized? Yes, it can happen. Let's go. Watch this now. Just watch this now. Let me delete all this. Right click, delete this. Let me delete all this. Right click, I'm deleting all the pivots because I didn't employ the best practices. I only taught you to understand it. Now, I want to pivot all the four of them in a way that they will appear on one table. Now, watch the technique. Very simple, very amazing. Let's go again. I go to insert. I go to pivot table, select pivot. Now, I want to pivot also total sales per year. I drag this and I drag sales. Mind you, listen to this now. Somebody might say, why is Excel summing it? Why didn't Excel give me the average value? Why didn't it give me the number of transactions that were made? Now, Excel can do that, but by default, Excel is designed to sum. If you now want to customize it, you come to this value, go to this arrow. I guess you can see the arrow. Look at where I am. Go to the arrow here. Click on this arrow pointing down. You will see value field settings. Value field settings. Click on the value field settings and you will see that by default, it will have sum. Now, what if I choose count? What result will I get? If I choose count, it means I am counting the number of transactions that were made. Total revenue is different from number of transactions. You are trying to count how many times transactions took place in each of the years. And if I click OK, you will notice that in each of them, we have 148 transactions that total to 444 transactions made because I chose count. If I go back now to value field setting and I choose average and click OK. Now, what I've gotten is the average of sales of each of the years. That might be the requirement. If I go back, if I want to know the maximum, I want to know the transaction that was the maximum how much was the highest amount of money made in 2013 at a transaction. If I click OK, you see each of them also and the rest of them. But what we want now is the sum. So we choose sum. We can also look for other options, which we will come to later as we go on with our analysis. So we'll have the total. That is it. Simple. Now remember, how do I now create another pivot here? If I click outside here, the pivot engine disappears. If I click here now, if I decide to If I decide to remove year now, if I drag year out, if I remove it, I'll drag it out. It goes out. If I start to remove this, I drag it out, it goes out. If I want to bring it back again now, I drag it back again. Or if I click on this arrow, I can also look for remove field. So is either you, when you drag it out, either you click and hold and drag it out and it goes out, or when you drag it in, you click on the arrow and remove the field, it goes out. But whichever one we do, remember what we want to do is we want to have this pivot here, and under this place, we want to have the second pivot, the third pivot. So what do? What we do is this. Listen very well. It is very simple. Like I told you, it's always it's simpler than cooking onubu soup. Simpler than cooking anything. Listen. Because I want another pivot under, what I will do is this. I will highlight this pivot. I highlight them. To highlight, click on the board. Look at where I clicked on. I clicked on the body of this. Hold down my mouse. Come down this way and move this way. If I highlight it now, I will copy it. How do I copy? I will press Ctrl C on my keyboard. The matching ant will appear to show that it has been copied. I will now give a space or two and come to the third one, right click and paste it. I simply duplicated this. So as I've duplicated this now, I will come to the second one now, click on the second one, then drag out the year here, drag out the value here, and bring in what I want, type and cells. Automatically I perverted the second one here. Two of them in the same place. Who understood what I just did now? Please let me have your response. Your response, please. Your response, please. Your response, please. That sounds like a magic, does it? Please, somebody respond. I have two pivot tables in one sheet. Did that one go well? Understood? Oh, beautiful. If you didn't understand, please respond. Let me know. Having two pivots. Okay, let me add the third one. Let me add the third one now. I also highlight this again. Press Ctrl C to copy. The matching ant will appear. Give one or two gaps. I can press Ctrl V to paste, or I right click and click on paste. It will paste. And when it pastes there, I click on it and drag out the ones here. Of course, I need a cell, sum of cells. So the one I will drag in now is, I think, type. I've done type. Okay, salesperson now. And I have the salesperson now. So I have this pivot here also. Any question? I have three pivots here now. Did you see how I'm arranging them in order? Okay. What if I want to know the number of units sold in a particular year? The same way also, I will copy this pivot again. I can do Ctrl C. I can do Ctrl C to copy and make a step here and do Ctrl V to paste also. Then click on this. Then remove the cells, remove the sum. Then this time around, I want to know, okay, let me use month now. Okay, first let me go to year, drag year, and drag units, and see the summary of units. But units are the same. Okay, let me get units for each salesperson. Yes, so you can see that now. So we have this, and this. So to make it have a better meaning, I can come to this place, click on it, click on this, and edit it as year. Year, I can now edit it to make it reasonable year, and I can now make this revenue. Total, or I can say revenue. Revenue is making meaning now. I can come here to say this one is type item, or you can say type item, and you can have here revenue also. That's simple. Remember, can come here also to have salesperson, and I have here also revenue, and that's just on and on. And you can just have that. And if you feel like labeling it, you can come to this place, highlight this, and merge it. Click on merge, and you can now say, you can now label it total revenue per year. Total revenue or total income per year. Or hit enter and click on this, and you can just format it a little bit to make it look different or exciting, and that's it. So you can do the same here, and the data is summarized. Very awesome. That's very simple. Very simple. Any question before I say the last thing? Any question? Is it amazing? Do I still have? We still have 14 persons here. Are we still here? Can I have you respond? I think I might need to get the 14 persons. Let me see. Okay. Charity. Wow, Charity, you are here today. That's interesting. Victor, yeah. Dixon, you're here. Uncle Yanyi, you're here. I'm excited. And Taiwo, Jasper, you're here also. Joy, two Joys. Jude, your Yangozi is here. Augusta, your Snachi is here. And that's okay. That's amazing. So can I have you respond? Any question? Okay. Well understood. Okay. I'm happy. All right. So finally, remember I told you in our next class, we will now conduct a complete company analysis. We will conduct a complete company analysis, and you will see how we can. But so far, we've done this. So looking at this, is that all we can do with this data? No. Now, looking at this data now, it is not still clear enough. There are certain things we need to still do to this data. Since these are monetary values, I can highlight this. I can highlight the whole of this row and come to insert, go to numbers, and I can see dollar, and I want to format them as dollar. I can do the same here also. So because they are all monetary values, I can go ahead and highlight them as dollar. It's simple. That's simple formatting. Come there, mark them as dollar, and that's simple. So the next thing that might be needed in this chart now is assuming, okay, looking at these items now, I can highlight these items without the total and create a visual. That is actually where, that's usually the end of every analysis. Your ability to create a dashboard. I'm going to show you how to create the dashboard. That's going to be a special class of its own, creating a dashboard. We are moving gradually as I see you understand what we're going to. So if I highlight this particular one now, I may decide to go to insert, and then insert, I will see charts. Alternatively, if I go to pivot table analyze, I will also see pivot chart. Take note, if I highlight this particular pivot, I didn't highlight the total. I want to plot the chart, maybe a bar chart or a column chart. I can come to insert, and I will use the chart group here. Or alternatively, I can come to pivot table analyze, and I will see the pivot chart. I like using the pivot chart because the pivot chart oftentimes will give me recommended pivot tables. I will come to it later. So if I click on the pivot chart, it will suggest a chart for me. I can choose a column chart, a line chart, a bar chart, pie chart, a bar chart. But here, because I am making comparison, I will tell you when to choose a particular chart. I'll tell you how to know which chart to choose. But for now, let's choose a column chart. And you can see that from this column chart, it's too clear that ice cream is highest. So did you see how easy I can see the item with the highest revenue from the visual? That is the power of the visual. So when I have it that way, what I will simply do is to click OK, and it will drop the visual here for me. And that's the visual. So from this visual now, I can simply see that ice cream has the highest revenue, followed by tasty treats, followed by frozen yogurt, and followed by this. So with this now, I can easily speak with confidence the product that has the highest revenue. And that's very powerful. That's very, very powerful. I can decide to do a good number of things to it. Let me sort from largest to smallest. I've sorted it now. If you right click any of the bars, you go to sort. You can sort smallest to highest, but I like only sorting highest to smallest so that from I can see that this ice cream is the largest, followed by this, followed by this, and followed by this. That's amazing. I can go ahead and do it for salespersons. Highlight salespersons and then go to my pivot table analyze, go to pivot chart and I can choose the pivot, the column chart and click OK. It shows me this also. Now, for instance, if I'm dealing with the year now, I can click on year also, but in year, we like using the line chart because it's a time series. Now, when you are dealing with time, it's usually recommended you use line. So you click on line and you click OK. So from this chart now, you can see from this chart that revenue was the lowest in 2013. It increased in 2014 and dropped a little bit in 2015. So when the boss, the CEO, sees this from here now, it becomes clearer to him that you had an improvement in 2014 and it dropped. So the question will be, why did we have a very low revenue in 2013? What did we do so much? What did we do between 2013 and 2014 that made the revenue rise? So why didn't we maintain it? These are questions that will be asked, and you may be able to give real answers to them. And when answers are given to them, solutions will be preferred. So with this, I've been able to create a good pivot table. If I want to arrange this, I would rather bring it over here and arrange it and put it here, and I have an amazing situation here. That's very powerful. That's very outstanding. I think we might need to begin to wind up at this point.